so much about the Chiefs over the last year.
Oh, yeah.
This is a team that has done so much within OS, but let's bring it back to Sandbox. These guys have come in from Korea. They've been in APAC North as long as time, formerly Cloud9 Mantis. They've made it to the Sweden Major. They made it to 6 Invitational. I mean, this team should be familiar to almost anyone watching Rainbow Six and APAC.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandbox, they've been around for a long time, and some of the players, even old-timers. Envy Taylor, we've seen him in every single season of APAC Pro League so far, I believe it is. So old-timers, lots of very experienced players on this Sandbox roster.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be a tough game for Sandbox to take on the Chiefs, but I think likewise the other direction. Let's have a look at the Koreans, though. This is Sandbox Gaming, a roster that many people will be familiar with. Like you said, a lot of OGs. Envy Taylor and Static have played every single season of APAC Pro League, but there's a guy down in the bottom right who turned 18, what was it, 15 days ago.
Wow.
Unreal. Good Boy is kind of known in the Korean region as a bit of a prodigy, and everyone has been eagerly awaiting for him to turn 18, join this roster, let Nova, their former support player, go to coach, and now the hype is, we're going to have to see if he can deliver on the hype, because there's pretty significant expectations been generated here.
Yeah, Good Boy, he's a rising star here in the Korean region. A lot of us turn our eyes to him to perform here in the lobby for this Korean roster, and it's just, I'm so excited to see him in this matchup.
He's only played one game in APAC North since he turned 18, and he's the top-rated player in the whole league.
Wow.
After that single match. So as you can see, the entire team is ready and rearing to go in their gaming facility. But of course, their opponents hailing from Oceania, the Chiefs, they have had an interesting 12 months and an interesting last 3 months. The stage 1 since rejuvenating this roster has not been quite the same narrative that we spun last year.
Yeah, it's not as promising as we thought it out to be. In 2021, the Chiefs, they were definitely the most dominant Australian team in the entire region, winning out the Nationals League back to back, I believe. Yeah, that was just such an incredible run from them last year. But this year, with their roster changes, they had such a great start to stage 1, but starting to fall off at the end of the stage here. Yeah,
there's been such great heights with this roster, even making it to the Sweden Major back in November, but there's still some doubts cast over this new roster. Of course, Fisher Guy and God Legion departing, bringing in Boydie and Bouncin, two very well-regarded players, and Bouncin in particular. I mean, he has made his presence known in the stats. One of the most top-fragging, particularly opening kill players in the entire of APAC South. And yet we still, for some reason, like, what is it? Why don't we fully appreciate this roster just yet?
The Chiefs, they just don't seem like they're quite in the form that they were in last year. It doesn't feel like they're as fluent, they're as good at the fundamentals as they were last year, and it doesn't feel like the team has gelled together as well, in my opinion. And yeah, it's going to be tough for them to claw a win here into Sandbox Gaming.
Of course, Worthy, who you mentioned, Chiefs were the 4-time national champions last year within Oceania. He is the Kiwi on the roster, hailing from New Zealand. He's currently in Brisbane, believe it or not, in the Bliss HQ. You can see that sign behind him. So Bliss has very generously lended the facilities to let him play. I believe Boydie might also be there. You can see in the bottom right. And I mean, Worthy, he's been a monster. Not quite as much of a monster as we expected after last year, though.
Yeah, Worthy, he put up an incredible performance in 2021, but in 2022 he has tweeted out a few times that he's been struggling quite a lot in this season, just not performing up to his standard. And I would really love to see Worthy bounce back. Him and the combination of Bouncin brings so much firepower to this Chiefs roster, but it hasn't come into fruition in stage 1.
Yeah, but however, those two players still managed to be in the top 5 for rating in APAC South, as well for opening kills, and that's something that we have always kept a keen eye on for Chiefs. They're so good in that early rounds, so good at finding those opening kills. Perhaps it just takes a little bit of time to get the fluency and the chemistry with this new roster since bringing on 2 players. It's a very much a similar story to what we talked about with the Knights, who also brought on 2 players, one of which was a bit of a rookie. But the Chiefs, I think they have their work cut out for them here. Sandbox is not going to be an easy opponent. While Chiefs have had one stint at an international event, a major, and looking to make a second here if they run through the playoffs, for Sandbox, major is just another day for them. Like, they have played at so many majors and 6 invitationals at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. The Chiefs, they're definitely going to have to claw back a win into Sandbox. They are no team to write off Sandbox. They have so much experience. They have the combination of the old guard and Envy Taylor and in Static, as well as the new player in Good Boy. And I'm really looking out to him to put these stats in the lobby and match up to the likes of Worthy and bounce him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are coming in thinking that, oh, Chiefs should be the favorite team. They technically had higher seed. They got knocked down into the lower bracket by another Korean team, Talon. But the thing is, Sandbox, everyone knows just what they're capable of, and they have been hot fire in the tail end of their APAC North campaign. But let's see where we're going to play out this best of 3 series in the map veto. Wow, okay. Cafe picked by Sandbox. Skyscraper picked by Chiefs. I mean, where do we even begin here?
Well, we definitely begin with Skyscraper.
Okay.
We've talked about this. We've seen Skyscraper so many times. It is an absolute staple in APAC North, but not so much in South. But one asterisk on Skyscraper for Sandbox is that they've never won it in their group stage. It is their only lost map in the entire group stage.
That's unreal to think that Sandbox have played Skyscraper 3 times in APAC North, lost it every single time, and every time they played a map that wasn't Skyscraper, they won it. So Chiefs have clearly done their homework. Also, fun note that Chiefs, on their final playday, they had to beat Invictus to make it to the playoffs. They did on Skyscraper a dominant 7-2, so I think that's a really good map pick for them. Cafe, however, is a different story. We don't necessarily have as much confidence for Chiefs there.
Yeah, Chiefs, they haven't shown much Cafe in the past stage, at least, and Sandbox, I feel like Cafe is a map that appears so much in APAC North. I'm wondering if you can bring up the stout and that will make a comment on it, but yeah, Cafe, it's just seen so much in APAC North, many of the teams willing to play it, and so Sandbox, I feel like they'll be very proficient coming into this first map.
Yeah, there's been some really dominant score lines for Sandbox recently on Cafe, mainly against Reject 7-1. Now, a little bit of asterisks there, like that is the bottom team in APAC North, so not necessarily the biggest win, but definitely taking Chiefs to a map that they're probably not as confident on.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I feel like, if anything, I came into this series with an expectation that Sandbox is going to be really favored and I would really be backing them in. But that Skyscraper pick, that really complicates things. I gotta say, I'm feeling Chiefs win their map pick here, regardless of what happens on Cafe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Skyscrapers really put a dent into the BO3 plan going in here for Sandbox Gaming. The Chiefs, this is their chance to come into it and get a round off here in the playoffs.
And if we get to it, Clubhouse as a decider, it feels like every time there's a big game for Chiefs, Clubhouse is somewhere in the mix.
Clubhouse, the dub house there for the Chiefs in the 2021 season. In the 2022 season, not so much dub house, but we'll see what the Chiefs can do and show up in this series.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an important one for both these teams, both of them looking to make it to the major after, well, Chiefs unfortunately failed to qualify for 6 Invitational, but they made it to the Sweden major, and that was such a breakthrough in the career of all these players and a moment for them to show internationally what they're capable of. Unfortunately for Sandbox and SI, they really fell below expectations. It feels like out of all of the APAC teams at 6 Invitational, Sandbox was the least impressive.
Well, the thing we know about Sandbox is that they went into the 6 Invitational just simply looking for experience and to try and push how far they could get into that international bracket, see where they stand against the rest of the world. And like you said, although they weren't the most impressive of all the APAC teams, it's just impressive that they even made it there, and now they're looking to repeat that international experience once again here in these APAC playoffs.
Of course, a secret ingredient, Good Boy. I heard,
Yes.
I can't remember who it was, one of the Korean players or casters, maybe it was Summer Rain, who we actually had on the interview last week, on Twitter, tweeted something along the lines of, when Good Boy said that he had turned 18, something along the lines of, Faker makes his debut, obviously
yes,
infamous Korean esports player. That's a lot of hype and a lot of pressure on such a young player. I'm really keen to see what Good Boy can do in the server. I think Chiefs are talking about adapting to their roster changes. Well, they've had a lot longer than Sandbox playing with a new player immediately. That has got to ripple some waves for how this roster plays.
Well, I think an important part is that it's the synthesis between the new players and the old guard. The old guard of Static and Envy Taylor, they have so much experience. We're really turning to them to lead this team and to be teaching the newer players of the roster the flow of Pro League, how it all works out, how the game plays out for this team. And I think Good Boy, he's come into this roster with some incredible mentorship under his belt.
Yeah, absolutely, and some experienced players to guide him through the games. But, of course, Sandbox are going to be picking the first map. It is Cafe. And for Chiefs, the one thing I do know, their most recent match in APAC South on Cafe was a 7-2 loss to Elevate. That was pretty shocking. Like, let's be real. I think we went into that expecting it to be, I think, match of the day at the time, and they lost it. So I'm wondering, yeah, we might have confidence on map 2 for the Chiefs on Skyscraper, but map 1, I'm leaning towards Sandbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Sandbox, they've come into it with promise into Cafe. They've played it before. They've shown very dominant results on it as well. And on top of that, Cafe has kind of fallen out of the meta in APAC South and also in OS as well. It's not a map that we see that often. Teams don't really lean into it, particularly with how Rainbow Six has changed in the past few months as well. So like you said, I'm kind of backing in Sandbox to be able to take away this first map just based off sheer experience.
All right, so it sounds like, let's just break it down, summarize, take a step back. All right, Cafe, probably Sandbox.
Probably.
Skyscraper, probably Chiefs.
Probably.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse was the dub house, but now an unknown in the Chiefs field. So I don't know who would take it in the end in this best of 3 series. Oh, it's definitely going to go the full distance.
I gotta say, I think in the green room, we were kind of having a chat with Guz and Rob, and we were like, look, that first series was surprisingly dominant. We didn't expect Elevate to take it 2-0. But this series has the potential to be even more one-sided. I feel like I'm going to backpedal on all that right now. This actually, because Skyscraper has made it into the video, like, I don't know, I had a feeling, right? I had a feeling that Sandbox would take this in 2, and now that feeling has been revoked because Skyscraper, that's juicy, and I can't wait until we get to map 2. Of course, if Chiefs bring the heat on map 1, imagine that. Like, imagine going into Skyscraper with a 1-map advantage.
That would be pretty incredible. Like, you're giving the Chiefs a lot of credit here, having done that homework, picking it into Skyscraper as well. Like, Sandbox, surely they would be ready for this, so they must know, okay, we had a pretty shocking group stage on Skyscraper. It's probably what the Chiefs are going to lean into. Do you think they've prepared for this? Maybe they've gone and scrimmed it out heaps and heaps in anticipation of this veto. That's what a best of 3 veto teaches you, right? You're definitely going to be taken to your weakest map because you can only ban out so many maps, right? So maybe they're ready for this.
Well, we have a lot of anticipation for the game. It all starts on Sandbox's map pick of Cafe. Rob, Guz, I know you guys have been sitting on the desk just waiting to get on the cast, so I'll toss it over to you and have a great one.
Thank you very much for that, Dev. We are keen to get underway. Obviously, 2 of these teams fighting for an opportunity to head to the Charlotte Major. You've already laid it out perfectly for us. I don't know whether the confidence in Chiefs is burning bright enough for me.
Not really, but I must say, if I saw you outside of a nightclub, I'd be a bit scared. You look like a bouncer right now.
Well, you know what? Maybe I could just give you a nice little bear hug from a distance. Just... Does that make you feel a little bit more?
No, that was just incredibly awkward.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, awkward could be how this pans out for the Chiefs. We head to Cafe first, and honestly, I am backing in Sandbox 100% here for Cafe at the very least, and it looks like socials are leaning that way too. 58% to 42 as we head underway in this series to determine who will push on to face Damn One Gaming Kia and who will bow out of the playoffs. I came in too early. Jeez, that actually... Oh my God, that goes on for so long.
I thought something was going to happen.
Yeah, I was beating the drums.
I was getting ready for Xenox to come
honestly,
busted through the door.
Kick the door down. Yeah, what up? Capitulation. Sorry, we've just absolutely turned this into a bit of
We should preface that myself and Manic are 1, not a regular duo, and 2, have not casted together very much, so expect things to maybe get a little bit loosey-goosey, but in terms of the ban phase, Havana off the board first, one of the hard breaches forfeited by the Chiefs. Nomad taken off the board secondary, so flank watch now a little bit tricky. Maybe I'll see the gridlock brought into play. Valkyrie still post-nerf, very powerful indoors. She'll also not see any play on this map, and Mirror, typical on Cafe, out as well.
If I'm not mistaken, at least in APAC South, Valkyrie's actually been the #1 ban. Banned like something like 60 or 70% of the time throughout the regular stage, so absolutely no surprises there. And Mirror, I feel like, has just not seen play, oh God, for like 3 years. I don't know if she's ever seen play, to be fair, but definitely not in this one as we head to the top floor to begin the proceedings. Exciting times.
Over towards the top floor we go for the first round. The Chiefs, again, starting on the defense.
Warden in play for this particular round, but probably not going to hard counter much. I think the one thing to probably keep an eye on here is the Ossa and Taylor from Sandbox. And that's going to increase the importance of Bouncin, the only player with impacts on the side of the Chiefs. And once those Talon shields are down on the ground, getting rid of them, very, very tricky. Especially with limited impacts available. So that could be an interesting dynamic. Obviously, Sandbox need to decide where they're going to deploy said shields and how the Chiefs are going to approach countering them.
One thing I'd really like to see from the Chiefs early on here is just a little bit of aggression. Get in the faces of Sandbox. Don't allow them to get comfortable on this attack, especially considering Cafe is played so regularly in APAC North. I think you take any team from APAC North to Cafe, you're going to have a bad time, let alone Sandbox, one of the best that they have to offer. So really looking for the Chiefs here to, at the very least, be contesting them and show them the respect that's deserved, but in a disrespectful way.
Slight extension from Worthy, playing that Warden relatively aggressively over towards this Shaiko position. Lots of lines of sight that he can try and shut down, but equally lines of sight that could counter him. Boydie underneath the skylight, forced to drop by the Rotero. Worthy unable to shoot that out in time. Sandbox just slowly chipping away.
It's always really hard to cast the first 2 minutes of a top
Especially
floor.
on Cafe.
Yeah. I mean, Cafe in general, like every map's got, it's like Clubhouse. You know what's going to happen. Well, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know that there's a lot of marks you got to get to. However, this top floor attack doesn't see a hell of a lot of innovation, and nor should it. Really love that. Spotting out the Yokai nice and early. That's in a fantastic position to deny any plant just in front of the bar. But I'm almost certain it'll be gone if it's not already. And this is looking like a really good time management from Sandbox.
Yeah, still 80 seconds left, plenty to work with. Shile posted up on this cigar balcony, can prevent the swing. LMG in tow. Sandbox really want the opening kill here to try and launch their attack, but the Chiefs not really giving much away, and that's probably the way they need to try and play this. Lean into plant denial.
I mean, all things considered, Chiefs have done incredibly well to continue to burn this time. You know, they've burnt 35, 40 seconds off the clock, and Sandbox have not been able to really respond in a way that they wanted to, but good boy, he opens up the proceedings here, and of course it's Worthy to respond.
40 seconds left as he activates the glasses. Sandbox looking to try and go for a plant. There's the Talon shield. Envy able to hold down the line, but now we can go for the plant.
Oh, this is really cheeky. I don't know what the Chiefs have to deny this. I think they're just going to have to try and play for pure contact. Boydie and Worthy, they both pick up one apiece, but this is looking really dangerous. Envy, sitting behind the Talon shield, knows exactly where both of these players are, has to play it perfectly, and does. Boydie down. A bit of whack-a-mole, and Digital, the last player left remaining here for the Chiefs in a 1 versus 2 with crossfires checked. Talon shield in front of his face. This is not looking pretty at all. A little trade toward the end, but it doesn't make a difference. A great attack from Sandbox.
Which player had impacts? Bouncin. Which player died first? Bouncin. Not going to be able to get that sight back. Especially top floor, the retake on the skylight. Talon shields aside, very tricky. You add that shield on top of it. I mean, it was just the cherry on top for Sandbox, right?
Yeah.
Really well played by Envy. Amidst all that chaos, able to get that shield onto the ground, goes for the plant, and really well played, disciplined at the end there.
Yep.
Super clean.
Things you'll love to see is Sandbox starting off their map pick in such a fashion that it's now on the Chiefs to respond. I like this. Keep moving on Cafe. Don't stay stagnant. Unless you 100% know what went wrong and are convinced you can fix it, cut your losses and move away. Speaking of cutting losses, does look like the OSA will not be repeating here for the reading defense, the library defense. Nevertheless, as we look into this one, I do hope that we can see a bit more out of the Chiefs from these two series. First series against Talon was not all that great, and look, we said it earlier and we'll say it again. Ping was a bit of a how you going for him. Hey.
You can't say the P word.
Which P word?
You just said it.
Well, you can't say it either, so which P word are you talking about? But certainly coming into this game, it did feel like there was a lot that went right for Chiefs against... at the very least, it looked like it went right for Chiefs against Talon. Tidying up just a couple of little issues, if you will. And keeping a mental game is just so important, especially when you're coming up against Sandbox, who have just been a dominant force in the region for quite some time. P-word.
Can't say it.
Oh, what you can say is hello and goodbye bouncing. 2 rounds in a row. Guys, this is not a great start.
Caught underneath the skylight, and Sandbox look to claim control up above. It is a reading defense, so the site not directly on this top floor, but naturally, the attack will want to gain presence up above and then transition that control down below with Vert. Chiefs now may be forced into something a little bit aggressive here. Find a response. Worthy's up above. I think Ethan's watching White Corridor as well. Really difficult position they find themselves in, though. If they throw away a pick, well, Sandbox basically claim the round, but at the same time, they can't leave this to a 5 versus 4 late round. It's probably not going to end well for them, so let's see if this defense can produce something in response.
I'm confident that they should be able to. This upstairs hold is always challenging to flush out at the best of times. You have a pulse that you're trying to contest with as well. Unless Envy catches him off, that's a lot of information that's going to be able to be freely given to the Chiefs to try and play off. And then it's just about hitting those shots, winning those ones, which Bouncin has not been able to do. Quite devastating considering he is the best player statistically for the Chiefs coming into, or at least one of the best players coming into this one. So much intel, man. He knows that there's 3 players on that second floor.
Yeah, Sandbox trying to open up the wall, but it is muted off by a jammer, so that secondary hard breach not really going to have much of an impact. Static will reattempt, and you can see both are muted. With 35 seconds left, the attack will need to shape up for something a little bit different here. The nade, though, could that get them? I don't know. Yes, it did, so both of those will pop off, exposing sight.
Still going to deal with the vertical, though. This is quite dangerous, not when that happens. Worthy goes down, and now Digital, shotgun up close, finds one. Ethan's going to have to step up as well. It doesn't look like Sandbox have actually been able to attack yet. They're still taking control of the upstairs area. And Digital is good for 2. He's now stuck in a corner. Harper looking to try and trade. Can't find anything yet. Ethan goes down on the other side. And it's just a capitulation for the Chiefs as Sandbox collapse onto site. Had to happen.
You said the P word, now you said the C word. What's next?
I don't know where we go from here, honestly.
Well, Sandbox doing a good job there to readjust late round, clearing out positions as the Chiefs caught in corners. So far, it's been a pretty good start for the Koreans. Chiefs struggling to find a response, and a lot of that has stemmed from the starts of these rounds where they're losing an opening duel, not trading it back. Just makes the late round so difficult and compounds a lot of the issues that they're having.
And this is definitely for the Chiefs. I think it's damage control on Cafe. It's just ensuring that you don't go down 7-0. You don't go down 7-2. You put up a fight. You show Sandbox that you're here to play. Regardless of how proficient you are on Cafe, how comfortable you're feeling on Cafe, I think you have to be able to, at the very least, keep pace for half the game with them. And I think defense is where it's going to be done. If we see Sandbox finish, 4-2, I don't know what hope the Chiefs have in holding on to that hope. I guess is probably the easiest way to put it. We'll wait and see, though. The attempt on this, I always call it basement. It is definitely not basement. On the first floor. Oh my god, again!
Where is that?
Again!
Where even is it?
Freezer!
Oh,
no way.
Outside of Garage, the long angle from the southeastern spawn, Digital taken down. Fortunately, though, he will survive, so Dig can play pass for the remaining of the round, sit back, throw smokes deep. Nonetheless, not the most ideal of starts, but fortunately just able to scathe away. Bit of a cheeky roam as well. I think that might be Ethan on the Aruni, but he'll fall off. In fact, actually, no, going to reinforce up above. The hatch blown out. It's himself and Worthy up there. Now just Worthy. Sandbox will look to clear. Envy Taylor taken low on the Ana. And that was outside of Bakery. Sandbox, though, I think will want to invest their resources elsewhere. You can see the ace. That's not ace. That's Jackal. My apologies. Good boy. The new addition to the roster. Expecting big things from him today and for the remainder of the playoffs. Looking to gain that information and make sure that the defenders aren't causing issues up above.
Certainly the lull in the action, the calm before the storm on Cafe happens all too often. Well, the mid-round, don't want to call it dead round, but it does really start to slow down when you take that vertical control above Kitchen, and you can't afford not to. You do need to be able to flush out the main positions of Sandbox, especially if you are looking for something like a Kitchen freezer drop. And that's 3 rounds in a row, I think Envy's found the opening kill. Unless I'm going crazy.
Not a bad stat line.
God damn.
6-0 so far. Harper up above on the vert, causing more issues. And now the Chiefs once more, man disadvantage, 4-5, 50 seconds for Sandbox to continually just prod from above. Wouldn't be surprised if they find one more pick here and essentially seal the deal. Keep in mind, this hatch was pre-opened by the defense, allowing these Roteros free reign down below in towards Freezer. Fortunately for the Chiefs, they do still have control inside of VIP, but keep in mind, that's Digital, who's so low on HP.
Bouncing, there we go. Now he starts to light up at a moment of need. 30 seconds. Sandbox struggling to find something at the moment. They found their way into Freezer. Should they need it, they're going to have to try and work off something different.
The drop comes through with 15 seconds left. Shile gets the first and the second with the LMG. Worthy up close though. MP5, he's only good for 1, leaving Boydie in the 1 versus 3. 5 seconds to play with. He gets the double spray. Harper's up above, stranded. Needs to pick up the kit, but he doesn't have time. And Boydie will win the round for the Chiefs.
That is so well played from Boydie. Fortunately, of course, Sandbox push in just directly behind each other. And it's the easiest transfer of his life. You'll see it here. You could not ask for anything better in a 1 versus 3. I mean, we could talk about issues. We could talk about heroic plays. At the end of the day, it's a round on the board for the Chiefs. And it's incredibly important that they play off the back of this and don't let this fizzle out into nothing. Albeit a 1v3 is not fantastic.
A 1v3 with everyone filtering down the hatch, but we take those.
Yeah, but you got to take what you can. And I get, at the end of the day, I guess that was, for me, a little bit of the issue for Sandbox is all their focus is by Freezer. And you can see that work, generally. But when it's a 4v4, I think it becomes incredibly difficult.
And that was even with Charles getting a double as well.
Double
if he doesn't
kill.
get that, I mean, would have well and truly been over. So
At like 20 seconds as well. Like, that's insane.
Nonetheless, though, 2-1 now the scoreline. The site's reset, and the Chiefs electing to go back up above to the 3rd floor. It was a close round last time. NV Taylor, keep in mind, over towards the default plant, got the Talon shield down, was able to solo plant, then played the post really, really well. Yep. So it's up to the Chiefs now to counter that. You can see they brought double the impacts, Digital and Bouncing, 4 total now.
Yep.
And if they're looking to counter these shields hard, we need to see those players step up.
Certainly can't see Bouncing fall. 66% of the rounds has been Bouncing out first. And again, reiterating the importance of those impacts versus the Talon shields. I mean, you just can't quantify the impact that it does have, honestly. Because MV Taylor, without that Talon shield in front of him on that previous plan, I don't know where he goes from there, honestly, because the Chiefs were playing quite passive. Really hard to work anything on bar when you don't have control of it. So, stepping up now, Sandbox making their way in nice and early. Good boy has well and truly been droned in, and I really like this. Use the time efficiently, first minute, it's been droned out.
I think what they're trying to do is nade from below, right? We saw that drone in Cocktail on top of the chassis. Good boy looking to get down below, but there's a player inside of reading and gets the shot. Ethan ready and waiting.
Yeah, for all the hurrah I gave it 2 seconds earlier. The droning not efficient enough there. Ethan sitting out in the open of all places in reading, and it's just not... It's not the cookies. It's a bit mere crumbs now, as Sandbox are going to have to look at this take, and I feel like they're going to try and do something similar here. I don't mind this, but I've got to see a bit of Zaz, a bit of magic, Guz.
Well, this is where it fell apart last time, remember? Bouncing over towards Pixel, lost his life, no impacts left. If he can stay alive here, hold the cross, it makes things a little bit more interesting. It's the exact same setup. Envy going for the plant.
Boydie, he's gone down. No impact. And now things become a bit of an issue. Love that from Digital. They've followed up on the impact of his own impact grenade, in fact. And it's done perfectly. Static, he sees the gun. He sees where Bouncin was, but he's not able to do anything about it. Bouncin hardlined all the way to Cigar Balcony.
Things just reset. The Chiefs finally late round man advantage. Bouncing still in a vulnerable position, but it's actually from White. Harper sweeps up, gets that pick, now a 3-on-3.
Yeah, things are going to get a little bit chaotic now. Both players are coming from White, so they're going to have to go big. Shale does not have a way into sight, so this becomes an incredibly difficult, near impossible 1v3, and it's absolutely not going to happen. The Chiefs keep 3 alive. And boy, is that critical in this game.
Well, the biggest piece of the puzzle was fixed for the Chiefs. They cleared the shield and got the kill. Obviously, they did get that earlier pick down below. Good boy not droned in properly for the reading grenade. But outside of that, it was a big improvement by the Chiefs, which is a really good sign. If a team loses a round, especially their first attempt of a particular objective, make it a blaring mistake or get outplayed and then able to adjust that and counter it on their second attempts, awesome signs for the Chiefs. And they'll be looking to roll that now onto the next objective, which is reading. Last time they got caught out, particularly by the pillar wall getting opened up and just maybe a little bit too static on site. They also lost the opening pick quite early up above.
Yep.
Again, they tidied that up and they might find themselves in the lead.
Bare minimum 3-3. 3-3 is an almost pass mark. 4-2 for the Chiefs would be incredible, especially after the start that Sandbox had, considering there was a 1v3 in the third round as well. 2-2 is not a bad scoreline for them. Definitely feel like there's a lot more to gain from this game for them. And with a reading defense, critical that you put some attention up on that top floor. Arguably, things can fall apart if you're not proactive enough, which evidently it did last round, or at the very least last attempt. But I think, again, if you look to the Chiefs and you look for them to tidy things round on round, I don't want to say it, but we could have a series on our hands.
We're 4 rounds in. Oh! Envy shuts me up right there and then. Worthy taken down. I was about to say, you've used all your zingers in the first 4 rounds, but it doesn't look like Sandbox have used theirs, particularly in the opening kill department.
Not at all. Envy has been the absolute weapon for Sandbox Gaming. If you will, the spearhead of their attacks. He's opened up 4 rounds, not in a row, but 4 rounds out of the possible 5 we've had, bouncing with a decent reply and one that's much needed. Thinking about who he's playing right now, the Kaid, he falls down with an electric claw stuck in his pocket. Not all that great, especially with the C4 as well. It's kind of a bit risky, but at this point you do have to take some risks.
Bouncing again over towards Pixel. Key position, 3 players at least hunting him down directly from shop. If he wins this engagement, he wins the round. If he loses it, well, that puts a lot of pressure on the remaining members on site. Chipping away at these drones, but still 8 remaining. Sandbox looking to do this swiftly. Pre-fire from Good Boy not good enough as that deployable shield continues to pose issues.
I mean, how do they get it? How do they get rid of it at this point? They've got 2 grenades left on Good Boy, but I would imagine they'd want to try and hold those for the later rounds. Try and flush players out from the back of reading. Oh, that's critical information. Harper with an unbelievable drone has just given Sandbox an opening and an into that top floor. Bouncing could retake.
Minute to go. Bouncing under pressure. Drops a second hatch in this round. Static now. Over towards mining. Makes a push. Can look to lock down the fireplace. Ethan down below. So he'll need to be mindful of the flank again. Nomad banned. Makes things a little bit trickier, but 0 to compensate. 40 seconds remain. Sandbox, you can hear them up above working the vert with the skeleton key. This is what undid the Chiefs last time. They were stuck in corners, had no maneuverability, and Good Boy kicks things off onto Boydie.
It's going to happen again, guys. I hate to say it, but lightning will strike twice here if the Chiefs are not careful. Static making his way across to reading. What do they have? They've got someone coming up the back of red, but what kind of flank is it going to work? Digital, lovely work on the white retake. Now 10 seconds left as they get into position. Ethan on the top floor as well. This could be absolutely devastating. Ethan in a fantastic position. They're now trying to contest the vertical plays, and it's just not going to happen. Digital shuts it down for a double kill on the shotgun. Things are looking better for the Chiefs.
And again, the Chiefs showing their resilience. They bounced back and fixed their wrongs from their last attempt, which was super duper impressive. Critically as well, the pillar wall wasn't opened. A bit too much time pressure. I think they only had one nade remaining, so clearing off the electrified wall would have been a little bit challenging. That meant the funnel in towards the pillar's door, in towards reading. That allowed Ethan, of course, to go for that play. Probably unlucky not to get a couple more. But it was always going to be tough to get that plant down once top control was lost.
Yep.
And that's the interesting dynamic of that site, right?
Yep.
You're never directly defending it as a defender, but you want control of it. And then we saw the Chiefs voluntarily give it up to stay alive. And then they took it back again. So a lot for Sandbox to try and track, not up to the task. And now the Chiefs have the lead.
A seesaw to which Sandbox just end up on the muddy side. And I'm a big fan of that from the Chiefs. I'm always a big fan of getting rid of different opportunities. You know, if Chiefs try and stick their two players up there and hold the positions, sure, look, they might win their ones, but I think it's a bigger risk than falling back and re-establishing that commitment later in the round. And again, they did it with perfect timing. You do it 5 seconds later and Sandbox could be all over the site. You do it 5 seconds earlier, Ethan might get shut down, the flank up the white stairs is done. So timing can be of the essence and can be really everything in this kind of a matchup. To which Chiefs are looking down the barrel at a 4-2 first half on defense. And I don't want to get too excited yet. If they are able to achieve it, I get excited. Long way to go.
Well, Kitchen, despite winning it, wasn't particularly strong either. It wasn't 1v3. Sandbox admittedly filtered directly into the arms of Boydie for the clutch.
Yes.
Amazing clutch, don't get me wrong. But it was also his only 3 kills of the game so far, so read into that what you may.
You had to do it.
I didn't mean that as a diss. I don't know, it just popped into my eye line. But in all seriousness, the Chiefs still have a bit of tidying up to do on this side. But we've seen it in the last 2 rounds. They have displayed their ability to make big improvements and adjustments on these defensive setups and the approach as well. So excited to see what they do here. Sandbox looking to go top down.
I thought for a second we were going to see something a little bit cheekier from Chiefs. I thought maybe Digital was on the mute. And, you know, the mute Mozzie combo on that top floor could burn a hell of a lot of time. And again, if we're talking about the importance of time, minute 30 left, they don't have any more than top floor control at the moment, which for me is a little bit of a concern. I think Good Boy's just on the outer side of reading. But as they do make their way in, if they're not cautious of it, this is where things get really tripped up. And if you want to break it down, that 1v3 was won on time. Boydie played back with 5 seconds left on the clock, and Sandbox are scrambling to try and get onto site. So you really want to make sure that you have everything ticked off, especially toward Freezer, as soon as possible.
Bomb located by attackers.
Minute 10 remaining. Sandbox now establishing control up above. Digital will pose a threat. He's inside a VIP, and unlike the last attempt, currently full HP remaining, bolstering his chances of having an impact in this round and preventing that Freezer drop from being free real estate. He can hold that cross, dump gas canisters, and make it really difficult for the attack. Elsewhere, Harper, with the skeleton key, able to dodge the first of a triple C4 lineup from the Chiefs. He'll just continue to chip away and see if maybe he can find a pick or two, but the Chiefs not really giving much.
This could be big. The Osa being able to play here could really put a bit of a dent in the armor of the Chiefs, but it just depends. There's no impacts. 2 C4s left. So they're going to have to try and play for this. Envy, love this. There's absolutely no way Chiefs are going to be able to deny this. Surely not. Grenade goes over the top. They take their time. Have the Chiefs caught on yet? They're going to go deep. They're going to go deep straight into the freezer. Who is that? It is Worthy that finds at least 1 kill. Now there's no time left. Sandbox scrambling once again to get onto site. And I tell you what, it's just too little too late. The Chiefs, they finish at 4-2 in the first half.
And again, they improved upon their mistakes. They prevented Freezer from being taken for free. Digital was still looming at being a threat over towards VIP. The first of the attempts was faulted by the Nitro cell onto the Talon shield, which meant it was really hard for Sandbox to get back and create that win condition once more for the plant. They then try and go for kills. Well, Worthy, he's there ready waiting, so the round's already over. So really well played. I will say, especially if it becomes critical for overtime, Sandbox, there are a couple of rounds there where we as the observer saw drones in sight in really, really important positions. Now, again, difficult to always capture them, etc. But just something to note. Again, if the Chiefs want to continue tidying things up, it's just small things like that they can be looking at.
So, Sandbox coming into the second half on their defense. This is where the whole story can flip, because this Cafe is truly a side of two tales, right? You've got the first half and you've got the second half. Two can be completely different or identical. That's the issue, is when you have a map that can be, and generally is, so defender-sided, it can be really hard to try and, you know, take those small wins in a round. By the way, I just realized Envy Taylor, that the shot that he's got right outside his window.
With the window?
Yeah,
oh my God,
that looks
so
green
cool.
screened. I genuinely thought that was green screened. But back underway now. A bit of a technical pause there. Just sorting out some issues. Seeing the Thorn here for Harper. I believe we saw it a little bit in the game against Elevate and Knights earlier on tonight. So it's seeing a little bit of play here and there, you know. It's definitely showing up. But top floor, once again, the primary site for, I think, every squad ever on Cafe. Oh, I like that position.
Which one?
Inside the little cigar cabinets. I'm actually a big fan of putting Valk cams underneath them.
Really?
Yes.
Where'd you learn that trick?
Oh, actually, I learned that trick on TikTok. No. I do remember playing around.
I haven't made that video.
No, but you can check out Manic Monday's Valk tutorials. There's about 6 of them on TikTok.
I don't think I'll be doing that.
No, I would not do that either if I were you. But there are some very cheeky spots on Cafe. Not that it matters in this one, because of course Valk is well and truly gone, so the conversation is all but mute and pointless. Could not be for the Chiefs if they are able to make this work. I mean, oh, I'm a believer.
Sandbox roaming down below, but we'll reposition now up white. I'm just expecting the Chiefs to go for a pretty standard take from up above. That said, they are scouting down below. And I know Digital doesn't mind a cheeky nade inside of reading, so this could be something to keep our eyes on. No needs for him on this particular occasion, as elsewhere Boydie falls. Clean shot there from Harper. Again though, back over towards reading. Ethan scouting ahead, presumably I guess for himself now. Nades in pocket. Might be able to find a response.
Oh God,
Ooh.
that looked...
It looked on the money.
Well, I can tell you right now, that was online. It would have been stumps for sure.
That's a cricket, right?
I just realised that we are not Australians here, and probably like 10% of our audience would have got that.
That's okay, I got it.
Now, how quickly Chiefs can deal with this extension, if at all. I think Envy might actually back away here. I thought he might stick the hold to Piano, because that could be quite an interesting little push that Chiefs would have to contest with, but with a minute left, they're kind of running out of options.
Ethan's still hungry for a kill from down below as the Chiefs continually look for a trade in response. 60 seconds now remain. A second nade from Ethan. That one doesn't hit the mark, but Static from up above finds Bouncin, using that vert really nicely. Now a 5 versus 3. 45 seconds remain, and it's tricky to see the Chiefs coming back in this round.
Digital could get lucky here with a bit of a spray. Surprised anyone's even contesting him. That gun will just shoot and shoot and shoot. Scoot and boot for Good Boy as well. He's going to be careful here. He's being pushed from the stairs. Ethan with lovely timing. Be forced back with that smoke babe though. So I'm not really convinced yet. Now I'm starting to be a little bit more so. Worthy finding Envy. 10 seconds left before they really need to make a move.
Worthy with the LMG. Shah repositions over towards Cigar Lounge. Digital with the LMG fires up, but Harper drops the kit. 5 seconds remain for it to be collected. Ethan needs to find 2, but there's nothing he can do. It's a shutout from Sandbox.
It's the time that wins in the end. Chiefs with nothing left in a 3 versus 3. They have to try and find raw trades, and it's not enough. It's never going to be enough unless you're a nasty player. And there are a couple of them on the Chiefs, there's no doubt about it. Really love that from Sandbox, though. Find an early pick, and what do? They said, nope, no thank you. We're just going to go and sit back on site. You can contest us a little bit, but we're not going to give you a hell of a lot. Well, you're going to have to take a risk.
It did almost cost them, right? Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Chiefs did flip it back 3-on-3, but then time became the enemy, and I think they were forced into positions, but that weren't particularly favourable on the attack. Pressure of time looming, bit of chaos, and Sandbox did hold down the line really, really nicely.
Well, we say Sandbox, but what we mean is Harper. That was...
6-1, half dozen.
Oh, he's used it. It's come out. He's come out to play. I think at least a triple kill in the end there for Harper. It started off with the kill on the Boydie, so just reiterating here that the Chiefs could well be in trouble, and I think that round for me kind of attests to it. A 5 versus 3, and what really gives us a glimpse of hope is 2 1v1s, to which one of them was a massive gamble from Ethan coming up the white stairs. So we shall wait and see, guys.
We shall.
It's generally what we do.
I don't really have anywhere else to be right now.
This is very true.
Apparently Jake did that. That's why.
Jake definitely has a different place to be. Xenox, of course, ditching us. Where is he again?
I don't mind casting with you, so it's okay.
Obviously,
I don't know.
domestic transport.
Didn't
right?
tell me. I just thought he was late for the flight.
Oh, you know what? He told about 7 people at the retail shop.
Really?
So, yeah. So I guess I do know where he is. Scumbag.
Oh. No, safe travels, Xenox. Please come back. I don't want to be stuck casting with Manic forever.
I'm not a big fan of Guzzler, honestly.
Yeah.
Our death segment was fun. This is you know. Now I know how you feel babysitting him, because I've got to do it to you, you know.
I don't know about that.
Hey, you're with an elder here.
You are pretty old.
I am.
Well, 2 minutes to go. 3-4 the scoreline. Sandbox looking to start bouncing back on these defensive efforts. The Chiefs, rough goings in the previous round, their first attack. Now we can see whether or not they'll be able to tidy things up. Charles in white corridor, quite a risky position, but not under all that much direct pressure at the moment. Sandbox retreating back over towards Cocktail.
Mid-round for me. Chiefs need to tidy it up a little bit after that previous attack. They weren't given a hell of a lot, but they took something in return. That is a massive take. Boydie shutting down a huge player for Sandbox as they revert back and relax a little bit more, guys. They can sit on their laurels, but not for too long.
Oh, I see feet. Boydie doesn't get the kill though. Envy Taylor able to retreat away. And he's been dangerous in this match thus far. Harper as well takes a hit. A lot of damage from the Chiefs, and it's Digital to find the second for his team. Now a 3-on-5.
Can't afford to lose it from here. Ethan, he's made his way in, but he doesn't know that Envy's behind him. This is dangerous. This could be devastating. Envy, he finds one, and now with 15 seconds left, that's one avenue less for the Chiefs. Make that 2. Boydie falls, make it 3. He indeed is a very good boy. He plays in a 1 versus 2. It's only bouncing between him and equaling the scoreline, but I tell you what, Chiefs do not give up without a fight.
They sure don't. Bouncing stepping up big there to win that final duel. A lot of trades late round there, but the Chiefs just edge out. And I gotta say, that's a pretty clean round from them. They needed it. Penultimate match point now. In round 9. Over towards the kitchen we go. This has been a pretty darn close match.
Yes.
So far. There's been a lot of these rounds that have been super duper back and forth.
And you know what? The thing I enjoy most is you can be 3-5 down, you can be 1v3, whatever kind of numbers you want to put on it. and teams are not giving up. There's no freebies here, and it's keeping both of these teams on their feet, really.
Well, it's keeping them honest as well, right? Because
Sure.
not being allowed to get away with any sort of laziness at any point of the round. You might be a couple of picks up, but as you mentioned, both teams willing and able to fight back when required. And I think if any team needs to show up to fight now, it is Sandbox trailing. On the defense, 3-5. They can bring this back. We know how good they are. They just need to find that next gear.
I'm such a big fan of the repick.
Why is that?
Well, time for one thing. We get about 20 seconds back of our life every round. But I am just a big fan because it means that there's not as much pressure on attackers to try and read into what the defenders are going to do. You can't make as many mistakes, and ideally it kind of evens out the attack-defender sided maps, but it hasn't done exactly that. It just gives you a bit more comfort and much more flexibility. And what it does mean is defenders are playing that game about, you know, like hunting drones or just focusing on util on site. I have quite enjoyed it.
I'm really glad you're enjoying it, Rob.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that you...
Oh!
Is that 5 rounds? Envy's gnarly.
What was that sound?
I don't know.
Jeez.
Okay,
That was a bit sus. You're going to get clipped. You're going
you're
on Twitter.
getting
Someone
clipped.
please clip that at Manic Monday on Twitter. Give us your best caption.
No, it's got to be the sauce. The sauce has to be
That
good.
was very sus. Anyway, we'll move on from that. Minute 40. And Sandbox continue to try and mount this comeback, and it's been a good start. Early pick of Boydie, who has been struggling a little bit in this game. Digital, though, over towards 90. The Chiefs looking to get quick upstairs control, and it looks like so far, so good. The hatch is electrified, though, which might slow things down.
We do like an electric-clawed hatch, has been said. Actually, I really liked... I can't remember who it was. I think it was actually Direwolves, almost stage 3 of last year. They were throwing it on the outside of the building, but just forget that altogether. Static. Binding Worthy makes this even harder. Didn't even realise Durkeby was in play, I'll be completely honest. I don't know if you brought it up, but if you did, I just completely didn't listen to you.
Bouncing dealing with the utility up above, but it's the frags down below, costing the Chiefs. Bouncing now in the 1 versus 4. Sandbox bringing the heat here in round 9. They're going to deny match point from the Chiefs for at least a little bit longer, unless we see a very special play from Bouncing.
Could be something for the books. Something embedded in APAC history if he's able to make this work. I'll tell you what, don't think he's going to get past the first hurdle. He does not. This is becoming a barn that may well be on fire.
Maybe.
Not there yet. Not there yet.
Not quite, not quite. I think if Sandbox wins the next round, then it really starts to get interesting. Yes, it is relatively close right now, but I think Chiefs getting match point would just be a huge leap in momentum for them. We head back up above the 3rd floor, back in play. The Chiefs hungry for match point on these attacks. The last round, they could probably write it off. I mean, it really never got going. Sandbox, to their credit, they did find that extra gear in that previous round and didn't seem challenged at all, really. Winning every engagement.
Well, I think you lose Boydie first, don't you? That was the C4 from Envy. I think it finds Boydie.
No nades, no... Well,
yeah.
had some vert,
well, there goes your vert. Kind of.
Yeah.
And then you lose Worthy, who has been, by far and away, their best player.
5 seconds left before insertion.
One off.
Digital top fragging.
Surprising.
You don't see that every day.
You do not. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been said, you do not see this every day.
Is it a full moon?
It could well be. Lightning may well strike twice tonight. I can't be sure of it, but once a month, the full moon does come out. Twice a day, a broken watch is right. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
You got any more analogies like that? Do you want to just get them all out of your system?
No, I can't think of anything else. Once a year, Xenox actually makes a good point. There you go. And so does Bouncing onto Good Boy. This is the way that you want to be starting for Chiefs. Finding that opening pick seems to just put so much pressure on the defensive side on Cafe. They're then forced to try and make not outrageous plays, but they are forced to take risks. Risks that Harper is interested in potentially playing around with.
Only 11% moon, so it's not a full moon. Okay. We can put that theory to rest. It's just Digital playing really well. Harper down below, wanting a trade, finds drones instead. Not the worst of exchanges. Barricade to his backside will be taken down. That's White Stairs. He will now post himself up on that position. This is when we need to see the Chiefs suffocate their opponents, but MV Taylor grasps for air over towards Pixel, gets one.
Half a round played, and that small advantage that the Chiefs had completely whittled away. And what ground do they have for it? Well, you look, and they don't really have a hell of a lot. They're coming up White Stairs now, but they don't even have control of Piano, of Cigar. So it does look like it's going to be a very similar attack to what we saw previously in round number 7.
I'll tell you what, that nade looked worse than the last attempt, but it did more damage.
It did.
There you go.
I don't even know how that happens.
3v4 now. Chiefs once more, well and truly with the advantage. 60 seconds remain for them to claim match point in the first map of this best of 3. Keep their chances alive in the APAC playoffs. We look at Digital. He has the diffuser in hand. 10 kills for the Chiefs, but Child finds Worthy keeping things very interesting.
Incredibly intrigued to see how Digital plays this out. Smokes and fires to boot. Boydie finds Shale. Digital takes his time. Things are starting to swing a little bit awkwardly now. Harper finding Boydie. It's a big pick. Envy, does he sit back in the right angle? He's allowed him in, and so too is Harper. 15 seconds left. Oh no, they had absolutely no idea, and it didn't make a difference because Envy Taylor is stepping up massively for Sandbox.
Couple of key positions on the side of the defense are really powerful in shutting down that cocktail plan, and those positions, unfortunately for the Chiefs, were still held by Sandbox. I presume a tactical is now being called in response by the Chiefs, and in fact it is confirmed as a tactical timeout. Probably not the worst of times to be calling that.
No. It's actually funny. Mandy and I were having a conversation about this the other day on OCN, I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, about tactical timeouts. You can't let them sit too late into a game. You have to take them to either try and break momentum or to take your time and figure out what is going on. What piece of the puzzle is not adding up right now? And generally, sometimes we see teams leave it 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, 4, and by the time we get to 4, they're knocking on the door. This isn't good. I like this from Chiefs. They take it early, they recompose. Also, I think Boydie and Worthy are quite blissful today, don't you agree?
You're a poet and you didn't even know it.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
Not bad.
They have said that. They have said that.
Not bad. Who can get match point though? Big. I always love the 11th round 5-5. Yeah. Honestly, sometimes it can be more exciting than the eventual conclusion of a match, right? Because it can well and truly dictate the course of the road. Sandbox, they'll rotate down, go to reading. Mozzie combo in play. Frost as well going to see an appearance. I don't mind that. A little bit cheeky. Deployable shield, pogmats, shotgun. All the ingredients for a nice little defense.
You didn't just say it, did you?
I did. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's actually been said. Ubisoft were like, I just heard him say Pogmats.
Well, I mean, chat's going to love it. So.
He's got to be going to the Charlotte, mate. He has to be going to North Carolina. I'm getting confirmation now from our producers. You have just booked your spot.
I'll believe it when I see it, mate.
Look, Brennan doesn't lie. He doesn't lie. He also hasn't said anything, so I can't tell you whether it's the truth or not. But
could one of these teams be going to Charlotte, though? They've probably a more realistic chance than me.
Yeah, and guess what? They're going up against Dan 1 Gaming in the next game, so you
still more realistic.
Yeah, fair. I'd say you got as good a chance as the Knights do.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. Envy Taylor though, pre-placed Nitro on the window. That barricade will be blown to smithereens in a jiffy, you would assume. Whether or not a Chiefs player is going to join that barricade to the grave, well, we'll soon find out. Whether or not anyone's brave enough to get that close. Bouncing though gets in the face of Shile. A good opening pick once more for the Chiefs.
Clinical from the Chiefs in the last 2-3 rounds. Priority in these opening frags have been massive. You can see, we've talked about it on multiple occasions, Sandbox either have to turtle now, or they have to try and send one player out to do a little bit of a dirty. Digital.
Bit lucky.
He's very lucky to be alive there.
A little bit lucky, but I think he's earned that. 10 kills on the board. Selma's now still up critically, and you can use those up above. 70 seconds now remain. Cocktail control next on the agenda for the Chiefs, but is being held quite fiercely by Sandbox. It hasn't been free real estate. Good boy, still up above. Such a strong position to hold. Envy Taylor as well over towards top white. These two could make or break the round for Sandbox.
Envy has not slowed down one bit. That's twice now. Boyd is just caught the backside, and on the third attempt, he will be able to find Envy, but it's only a down. Two players with low HP. They've got to start to get a move on. It is the 11th hour.
35 seconds now remain. Ethan with the last of his grenades will use that down below over towards bot white. Actually still has one grenade remaining, so might have an impact later on. Bouncing up above on the vert. 20 seconds remain. The Chiefs looking to edge themselves in towards site. Worthy gets one, but traded.
This is big now. The Chiefs, how do they respond? Harper is looking to retake, but so is Static. They've got to be so careful. If Static makes it in behind them, Boydie has no idea he's made it into Freezer. There's 7 seconds left. The chaos of Static has been able to cause has allowed Envy Taylor to push into Pillar. Things slow down for a minute as Static looks to reposition. Has he caught Digital? He's got no idea! Digital! In a 1v1, he's got to close it out here, but it's Envy Taylor, the hero for Sandbox on Cafe, that forces them on the match point.
Envy Taylor, 15 kills, taking down Dig, a huge 1 versus 1. Great composure, but we can't go past that flank up above from the Frost. Huge impact, causing chaos. The Chiefs forced to rush in towards site. Static, so well played. Giving a really good call out as well on towards his teammate, and Envy Taylor collects.
This game is so much closer than I thought it would ever be. The Chiefs are pushing them.
Yep.
The limits are being tested here. And truth be told, this really, it's, gonna say it, it's anyone's game. Knife's edge, sitting on a fence, couldn't tell you which way I'm going to fall. What I will say, and what I will reiterate, is the decision there from Sandbox to not send all 3 players up was critical. The fact that Harper and Static were able to cause such diversion, such chaos, that the Chiefs kind of lost their bearings a little bit, allowed Envy to just play sneaky beaky like in and around the pillars. And it just pays off so damn well. I don't think you could script that better. And now match point for Sandbox on their map pick. How critical is that?
Pretty big, it's pretty huge. Oh, that's big too.
Wow.
Bouncing.
Huge.
Straight off spawn onto Envy Taylor. And that is Envy Taylor.
Yep.
Just hit that huge clutch. Been absolutely popping off. He has been key in a lot of these rounds for Sandbox. That's a huge loss.
Monumental here in the last possible round for regulation. Are we moving straight across to Skyscraper, or is this going to continue? The Chiefs say nay. OT forced. Potential win on Cafe. Could really net them some good scores here, guys.
Bouncing creeps forward. Control over towards Train. What can you do with his big brain? Already up above as well. Maybe looking for Vert. He'll be looking to inflict a lot of hurt.
It's a shame that Chiefs let go of Turt. I had nothing else to go off there. My brain just fried itself. It absolutely fried itself. I thought too much.
That's the secret. Don't think too much. I think the Chiefs in this position probably don't need to overthink this execute all that much. Get Vert, open up the hatches, look to flood sight, but Static takes down Digital. Another top fragger out of the round. Reclaims over towards that VIP position, and that makes a freezer push increasingly more difficult.
Boydie now. Teaming back up with Ethan. They can't get that hatch open. That's fine. Static is in a devastating position. He's also got someone just in toward Bar. It's Good Boy. And you know Good Boy, you know that he'll be able to swing. He doesn't even have the shotgun, which I think is going to make him more dangerous in this position, especially if Static can waste time.
No.
He hasn't been spotted. The Chiefs are capitulating here in the 12th round. Up one man, down two, down three, a triple in the round for Static, but Boydie could turn it.
2 big rounds for Static, and now with 30 seconds left, the Chiefs need to pick up these scraps, find something out of nothing. Batson pushes through over towards Freezer, Boydie alongside.
A little bit of due diligence. Boydie, if he crosses there, maybe there's a chance. Bounson has to go absolutely nuclear, and it's just, there's no way in hell he makes this work. 1v3, Vert established, and Harper shuts it out. Sandbox Gaming take their map pick, importantly so, 7-5. And now we head to Skyscraper.
It was close. Credit to the Chiefs. They kept it really close. They showed their ability to continually adapt and improve, but Sandbox on the map pick clearly just outclassing them a smidge. I'm sure they'll be pretty happy that they closed it out in regulation. And yeah, honestly, all around, I think they'll be pretty pleased with that.
I would be. We said at the start, well, I said at the start, I won't throw you under the bus here.
Yep.
It's definitely me at the start. What I wanted from Chiefs there was to keep it close. I didn't want anything rolling out of proportion. They had a first, was it 4-2 first half, which means it was a 5-1 second half. No way. That did not feel like a 5-1 second half.
I mean, and that was just a testament to the whole game. It did feel genuinely really, really close.
Yeah.
Digital stepping up, keeping them in the game. And Envy Taylor, that little battle as well going on. I'm keen to see how that develops now in the second and maybe even third map.
Don't get too far ahead of yourself, mate. We've got Skyscraper next. We're going to go to a short break, and on the other side, our analysts will break it all down.